It was a typical Monday morning at Ridgeview Auto Group, the kind that smelled like coffee, printer toner, and too much ego in the sales department. Andrew Miller adjusted his cufflinks in the reflection of the glass wall that separated the showroom from the offices. He was a white man in his mid-30s with slicked-back hair, a pressed navy suit, and a smirk that rarely left his face. He had been with the company for nearly 8 years and expected, that today would be the day he got promoted. Head of sales, he whispered to himself as he ran a hand down his tie. About time. He strode into the sales floor with his usual self-importance, tossing a finger-gun wave at the receptionist and winking at the interns. Then he walked straight into his office and froze. A woman was standing there, looking around with calm curiosity. She was dressed in a sleek maroon blouse and tailored slacks, her dark skin glowing in the soft morning light that streamed through the window. Her posture was confident but relaxed, and she held a leather-bound notebook in one hand. Andrew's eyes narrowed slightly, then he forced a grin. "Oh, you must be the new secretary," he said with mock warmth. "Great, finally someone who can keep up with my calendar, and maybe make the office look a little nicer too." The woman raised an eyebrow, but said nothing. Andrew chuckled, then stepped a little too close, reaching out to tug gently at the top button of her blouse. "You don't have to be so formal," he murmured. "This place could use a little soft touch." Still silent, the woman slowly closed her notebook and straightened her back. Before she could respond, the door swung open. "Andrew," boomed a cheerful voice. It was Charles Bennett, the company's director, a broad-shouldered man in his late 50s with silver hair and a booming voice that filled every room he entered. "I see you've already met Monica Carter," he said brightly. "Perfect. Monica, meet Andrew Miller, our senior sales exec." Andrew's smile froze. "Wait, Monica," he repeated. Charles clapped Andrew on the back. "Yes, Monica is our new head of sales. You'll be reporting to her moving forward. I trust you'll help her get settled." Andrew's face dropped, but only for a split second. He quickly caught himself and forced another smile. "Of course," he said tightly. "Welcome, Monica." Monica extended her hand. "Nice to meet you, Andrew." Her handshake was firm, professional, unapologetic. Charles gave a final nod. "I've got to run to a board meeting, but Monica, let me know if you need anything." "Andrew, show her around, will you?" The door closed, leaving a heavy silence behind. Andrew took a step back and exhaled. "So, head of sales, huh?" he muttered. "Interesting choice." Monica gave him a polite smile. "I look forward to working with you." He chuckled, but the laughter didn't reach his eyes. "Yeah, me too." Later that morning, Andrew stood in the break room, fuming as he poured himself a fresh cup of black coffee. The words replayed in his head like a broken record. Monica Carter, head of sales. That was supposed to be his announcement. His title. He'd been here for years. He knew the team, knew the numbers. And now, some woman walks in, some diversity hire, he told himself, and takes the spot he'd earned. He took a bitter sip of his coffee. "This isn't over," he muttered. Back at her desk, Monica sat calmly, reviewing reports from the past quarter. She had heard the tone in Andrew's voice. She'd seen that look before, too many times. She didn't get to where she was by accident. Her resume spoke volumes. 15 years in automotive sales, 3 major dealerships turned around under her leadership, and a client retention rate most execs only dreamed of. Still, she knew the hardest part wasn't proving herself to customers. It was proving herself to colleagues like Andrew, the ones who couldn't accept that someone like her could lead. But Monica wasn't here for validation. She was here to excel. By the end of the day, whispers were already making their rounds. Some welcomed the change, curious about the woman who had Charles Bennett's full confidence. Others, like Andrew, were sharpening knives behind forced smiles. Monica Carter had taken her seat. But little did she know, Andrew Miller had already begun planning how to pull the chair out from under her. The next morning at Ridgeview Auto Group began with a tense kind of silence. Andrew Miller walked into the office 10 minutes early, not because he was eager to work, but because he wanted to stake his territory. He tossed his briefcase on his desk and leaned back in his chair, eyeing the door across the floor. The one now marked Monica Carter, head of sales. He still couldn't believe it. A whole department he'd practically built. And now he had to report to someone who hadn't even been there 48 hours. Worse, someone who didn't look like the executives he was used to answering to. In Andrew's mind, Monica was a symbol of everything wrong with corporate politics. She got that job because they needed diversity. He mumbled to himself, stirring his coffee aggressively. Not because she earned it. The door to her office opened. Monica Carter stepped out, dressed sharply in a navy blazer and matching trousers. Her presence was commanding without effort, quiet confidence in every step. "Good morning, Andrew," she said with a small nod as she passed. He didn't answer. Instead, he waited until she disappeared around the corner, then pulled his phone out and sent a message to one of the junior reps. "Meet me in the break room in 5. Need to talk about something important." If Monica thought he was just going to roll over and play nice, she had no idea who she was dealing with. Meanwhile, Monica sat across from Charles Bennett in his glass-walled corner office. "So, how's the second day treating you?" he asked with a smile. "Busy," Monica said with a knowing grin. "But that's how I like it." Charles nodded. "I figured you'd settle in fast. I just want you to know, I handpicked you for this role. Your track record is unmatched, and we need someone like you to steer this ship in the right direction." "I appreciate your trust," she replied. "But I also know some people don't feel the same way." Charles leaned back. "Andrew." Monica didn't answer. She didn't have to. "I've known him a long time," Charles continued. "He's talented, but let's just say he's never been challenged like this. He's used to being the big dog around here. That'll change." Monica nodded once. "Let's hope he adapts." Back in the break room, Andrew was already gathering support. "I'm telling you, Paul," he whispered to the junior salesman. "I've been here for 8 years. I practically wrote the sales playbook. And now I'm supposed to smile while someone else, someone who hasn't earned it, sits in the chair that was promised to me." Paul shifted uncomfortably. "I mean, maybe she deserves a chance." Andrew gave a tight smile. "She doesn't understand this business like we do. This isn't a fashion boutique, it's auto sales. The pressure, the grind, the clients, it's a man's game." Paul didn't respond, and Andrew didn't care. He had made up his mind. That afternoon, Monica called her first team meeting. The entire sales floor gathered in the conference room, curious to see how the new head would lead. Monica stood at the front of the room, poised and calm, as the team settled in. "Good afternoon, everyone," she began. "I want to thank you for being here. I know transitions can be uncomfortable, but I'm not here to change what works. I'm here to improve what doesn't." Her voice was clear, her tone respectful. She spoke of strategies, outreach improvements, digital tracking for leads, and better commission transparency. Some heads nodded. Others scribbled notes. A few, including Andrew, crossed their arms and stared coldly. Then she looked directly at him. "And I want to make it clear," Monica said, "that this team's success isn't about individual pride. It's about collective progress. That means respect, collaboration, and accountability from everyone." Andrew's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. The meeting wrapped up with polite applause. Monica returned to her office. Andrew didn't move. "She's not going to last," he said under his breath. And with that, he pulled out the extra key card he'd secretly copied the night before. If the company wanted a leader like Monica Carter, Andrew Miller was going to show them just how fast he could make her fall. Andrew Miller didn't sleep much the night before. Instead, he stayed up replaying every moment Monica Carter had spoken during that meeting. The steady tone of her voice, the way she glanced at him when she talked about accountability, the way some of the team actually applauded her ideas. He felt something he wasn't used to, threatened. So when the office lights flickered on at 7:12 a.m., it was Andrew who flipped the switch. The floor was still quiet. Most of the team wouldn't show up for another hour. He walked straight to Monica's door, looked both ways, then pulled the duplicate keycard from his wallet. Click. He was in. The office was organized, minimal, professional. A framed photo of Monica's parents sat on her desk beside a sleek laptop and a ceramic mug that read, "No shortcuts, just the work." Andrew rolled his eyes. Cute. He slipped a USB drive from his pocket and plugged it into her laptop. He'd already created fake receipts, high-end spa subscriptions, luxury beauty boxes, even a recurring charge for jewelry services. Using the company credit card account linked to her profile, he queued them all for automatic payment. When it was done, he smiled. "Let's see how long the queen sits on her throne now," he muttered. By noon, Monica had no idea anything was wrong. She was in the middle of reviewing a quarterly report when Paul, the junior salesman, knocked on her door. "Hey, Monica," he said nervously. "There's a big client in the conference room. Charles wants us to join him." "Of course," she said, standing up. "I'll be right there." Just need to change. Paul hesitated. Change. Yes, Andrew said there's a company uniform I'm supposed to wear for client meetings. Something about dress code consistency? Paul's face went pale. I'm not sure that's real. But Monica was already reaching for the locker behind her door. She paused. It was empty. The slacks, the backup blazer, even her usual heels gone. There was nothing inside but a small plastic bag containing a hideous, tight-fitting company promo shirt and an old pencil skirt that barely matched. She blinked. Paul shifted uncomfortably. Do you need a minute? No, she said after a breath. It's fine. Let's go. As she walked into the conference room, heads turned. Andrew was already seated, wearing his smuggest expression. The moment Monica stepped in, underdressed and clearly unprepared, he leaned toward another employee and whispered, just loud enough to be heard. Well, now we know how she got the job. The comment landed like poison in the air. But Monica didn't flinch. She walked to the front of the room, nodded at the client, and launched straight into the presentation. If anyone had hoped for embarrassment, they didn't get it. Monica was confident, articulate, and sharp. She knew the numbers better than anyone in the room. By the end of the meeting, the client was smiling, shaking hands, and finalizing one of the largest partnership deals in Ridgeview Auto Group's history. When Charles Bennett announced that every employee would receive a bonus because of it, the room erupted in applause. Everyone but Andrew. He didn't clap. He didn't blink. He stared. Because somehow, despite everything, Monica had still won. Later that afternoon, Monica stood near the espresso machine, catching her breath. She didn't say it out loud, but she knew something strange had happened. The uniform lie. Her missing clothes. Andrew's smirk. It wasn't coincidence. Still, she wasn't going to stoop to suspicion just yet. Not without proof. As she turned to return to her office, Charles appeared beside her. Impressive work today, he said, handing her a small envelope. Your instincts were dead on. This client could carry us for the next fiscal year. Thank you, she said, taking it. I'm glad it worked out. Charles hesitated. I don't usually ask this, but everything okay here? Monica paused. It will be. Across the floor, Andrew sat at his desk, jaw clenched. He had thrown everything at her, and she had still stood tall. But he had one more card to play. He opened his phone, checked the scheduled transactions one last time, and smiled to himself. She may have survived today, he muttered, but by tomorrow, she'll be done. He leaned back, smug and certain. Because once those unauthorized charges hit the system under her name, Monica Carter wouldn't just lose her job. She'd lose her reputation. And he'd be right there to take the chair she left behind. The next morning felt heavier than usual. Monica Carter arrived at Ridgeview Auto Group just before 9 a.m., her heels echoing against the polished tile as she walked toward her office. She carried herself with grace, unaware that the storm Andrew Miller had summoned was about to strike. She was barely seated when Charles Bennett entered her office, face unreadable. Monica, he said, closing the door behind him. We need to talk. Now. She looked up calmly. Of course. What's going on? Charles exhaled and set a printed document on her desk. Her eyes scanned it. Salon subscriptions. Jewelry deliveries. Luxury cosmetics. Multiple charges. All tied to the company's expense account. All made from her employee profile. This must be a mistake, she said slowly. I didn't authorize any of these. Charles gave her a long look. The transactions were made from your laptop. From your office. The system logs back it up. She blinked. Charles, you know me. Why would I risk my entire career on this? I want to believe you, he said softly. But right now, the board wants action. And I have no choice. Her breath caught. You're firing me. I'm suspending you, he said. Pending an internal audit. Effective immediately. She rose to her feet, spine straight. Then I'll cooperate fully. But I didn't do this. Charles hesitated, then nodded and quietly stepped out, leaving Monica alone with a stack of false accusations. Outside the office, Andrew Miller was already making the rounds. Can't say I didn't see it coming, he whispered to Paul at the copier. She walks in here, acts like she owns the place, and boom, caught red-handed. Luxury face creams on the company's dime. Unbelievable. Paul looked uncomfortable. Yeah, but... I mean, she did close that huge deal yesterday. Doesn't really make sense. Andrew gave a practiced shrug. You never know with people like her. Always trying to get ahead. Sometimes by skipping the rules. He walked away, hiding a grin. Everything had gone exactly to plan. By noon, whispers floated across the dealership like smoke. Did you hear? Monica's being investigated. They say she used the company card for spa treatments. Maybe Andrew really should have gotten that promotion. Andrew soaked it all in. He sat at his desk, sipping his coffee, the picture of calm success. The duplicate key card sat snugly in his pocket, a silent trophy of his cleverness. He knew she wouldn't be able to trace it back, not unless someone had seen him. And no one had. At least, that's what he thought. But not everyone had forgotten what they'd seen. That afternoon, Paul stood in the break room stirring his coffee absent-mindedly when Mike Thornton, a tech support rep, walked in. "Hey," Mike said. "Weird question. Did Andrew ever mention anything about Monica's office key?" Paul looked up, surprised. "Yeah, actually. He showed it to me the other day. Said it should have been his office anyway." Mike's eyes narrowed. "He said that to you?" Paul nodded. "Why?" Mike pulled out his phone and opened the security request log. "I got a flag ticket yesterday about her login being used at a weird time. Looked into it this morning. Her account was accessed early, before she even arrived." Paul's heart dropped. "Wait, are you saying?" Mike nodded. "I think someone planted those charges." Back in the main office, Charles was reviewing the transaction reports when Mike and Paul walked in together. "Sir," Mike began, "we believe Monica was set up." Charles sat up straighter. "Go on." They explained everything: the key, the bragging, the login time, the itemized list of purchases. Then Paul mentioned something Andrew had said earlier that struck him as odd. He specifically said Chanel bags were part of the charges, but no one had mentioned that yet. It wasn't in the printed list. Charles froze. How would he know that, unless he made the purchases himself? Paul and Mike exchanged glances. "Exactly." Charles stood up slowly. "Where is he?" Moments later, Andrew was summoned to the office. He walked in with a cocky smile, expecting congratulations, maybe even a quiet offer to reclaim Monica's position. Instead, Charles was waiting with the printed receipts, in a very different tone. "Andrew, how do you know about Chanel bags?" Andrew blinked. "Excuse me. No one mentioned that brand. Yet you did. In the break room. Right, Paul?" Paul nodded. Andrew swallowed. "I mean, it's a guess. She looks like someone who'd..." Charles cut him off. "Enough." The room went silent. "You're done here." Effective immediately. "What?" Andrew shouted, suddenly pale. "You're firing me? For what?" "For sabotage. For lying. And for setting up a respected colleague." Andrew's voice cracked. "This is insane. You're taking her side." "It's not about sides," Charles said calmly. "It's about facts. And you just exposed yourself." As security approached, Andrew's facade finally cracked. "You're making a mistake," he shouted. "She doesn't belong here. She never did." Charles looked him dead in the eyes. "She belongs here more than you ever did." By the following morning, Ridgeview Auto Group felt different. Word of Andrew Miller's firing had spread fast. Staff who had once tiptoed around his ego now whispered in disbelief. Some were stunned, others quietly relieved, and many had started to reevaluate just how much they had tolerated in silence. In the center of it all sat Monica Carter, now cleared of all wrongdoing, but not yet celebrated. She walked into her office to find a bouquet of flowers waiting on her desk. No card, no name, just a single line on a note. "Truth wins in silence." She smiled faintly, but her thoughts were quickly interrupted when Charles Bennett knocked and stepped inside. "Morning," he said gently. "I wanted to check on you." "I'm all right," Monica replied, though she was clearly tired. Charles nodded. "I wanted you to hear this from me before it hits everyone else's inbox." Monica raised an eyebrow. "Benjamin Clark is returning today." Monica blinked. "Ridgeview's founder? The one who had stepped down 2 years ago? I thought he was officially retired," she said. Charles chuckled. "Apparently not quite. He's making a final decision on leadership changes, particularly who will oversee operations after I step down next quarter." Monica paused. "So, Michael Bailey." Charles hesitated. "That's the plan. But there's concern." "About what?" "His past conduct," Charles said carefully. "Nothing proven, but complaints, comments, a few HR whispers that never escalated." Monica's gaze sharpened. "Benjamin wants to be thorough," Charles continued. "So he's asked for a final test, a polygraph, conducted by an outside expert." Monica gave a knowing nod. "Good." She turned to her laptop, mind already shifting. This wasn't just about one man losing his job anymore. It was about reshaping the company's culture, root and branch. That afternoon, Michael Bailey sat in the executive conference room. buttoning his shirt collar and laughing with a junior manager. Polygraph? Please. Like that'll prove anything, he scoffed. I know how to play the game. But the smile faded the moment the door opened and Benjamin Clark walked in. The old founder was as sharp as ever, tall, clean-shaven, with a deliberate calm in his stride. He nodded politely, then motioned to someone just behind him, and in walked Olivia Price. Michael's jaw dropped. Her heels clicked softly against the tile. Her posture was unshakable. She wore a slate-gray pantsuit and carried a leather case that she opened wordlessly, pulling out a compact polygraph system. Michael's voice caught in his throat. You've got to be kidding me. Something wrong, Mr. Bailey? Olivia asked, connecting wires with quiet precision. He blinked. No. I just didn't expect. She smiled coolly. To see me again? Benjamin sat down across from them, hands folded. You know each other? Olivia didn't answer right away. Michael laughed nervously. We went to college together. Years ago. Olivia's gaze didn't flinch. Yes. College. You don't forget the people who hurt you. The room fell silent. Benjamin leaned forward slightly. Let's begin. The question started simply. Is your name Michael Bailey? Yes. Do you currently work at Ridgeview Auto Group? Yes. Have you ever had a romantic or physical relationship with a subordinate? No. Beep. Michael flinched. Benjamin's expression didn't change. Have you ever made inappropriate comments to a female colleague? No. Beep. A light tremor formed in Michael's hand. Olivia continued, her voice even and clinical. Have you ever touched a female employee without consent? Michael glanced at Benjamin, then back to Olivia. No. Beep. She raised her eyes to meet his. Are you sure you don't remember the New Year's party? Second year? Columbia campus. His jaw clenched. That was years ago. We were drunk. It wasn't like that. Olivia didn't speak. She didn't have to. The polygraph had already spoken. Benjamin finally broke the silence. I wanted to give you the benefit of the doubt, Michael. But this tells me everything I need to know. Michael stood up sharply. This is a setup. This is revenge. And this is accountability, Olivia said, unplugging the final wire. Something you've run from for years. Benjamin rose as well. You're no longer a candidate for leadership. And as of today, you're no longer employed here. Michael staggered back. You're firing me based on this? No, Benjamin said quietly. I'm firing you because people like Monica and Olivia deserve a workplace free from fear. And I should have ensured that a long time ago. Michael stared at them both, red-faced, lips trembling, but he didn't say another word. He just walked out. In the hallway outside, Olivia found Monica waiting by the elevator. Their eyes met. You okay? Monica asked. Olivia gave a tired but triumphant smile. Getting there. I heard what happened. I heard what you did too, Olivia said. He tried to crush you. And you stood taller instead. We both did, Monica replied. The elevator dinged. The doors opened. But neither of them stepped in. They stood for a moment, two black women who had been undermined, underestimated, and nearly erased, now standing where no one expected them to be. Strong, clear-eyed, unapologetically in charge, and far from finished. The next morning at Ridgeview Auto Group felt like a fresh breeze after a long storm. The lobby was quieter than usual, not with tension, but with reflection. Employees glanced at one another with a different kind of awareness. Rumors had stopped. Whispers had ended. Two men were gone. Two women had stood their ground. And now, everything was different. In the executive conference room, Benjamin Clark stood beside Charles Bennett as they addressed the entire sales team. Monica sat near the front, her face calm, her posture straight. As of today, Benjamin began, we are implementing a new zero-tolerance policy regarding harassment, discrimination, and retaliatory behavior in this workplace. He let the words settle. We failed to act sooner. We ignored warning signs. We dismissed the quiet concerns of those who didn't feel safe enough to speak. And for that, I take full responsibility. There were nods around the room. Some eyes dropped with guilt. Others looked to Monica with admiration. Benjamin continued, I've spoken personally with Olivia Price, whose testimony helped us uncover long-standing misconduct. And I want to thank Monica Carter publicly for her resilience, her leadership, and her integrity in the face of both sabotage and silence. The room erupted in applause. Monica remained still, but her eyes softened. She didn't need a standing ovation. She just needed one thing, a workplace where no one else would have to fight the same battle she did. Later that afternoon, Monica stepped into her office and found Benjamin waiting for her with a warm smile. I owe you an apology, he said. Monica raised an eyebrow. You don't. I do, he insisted. For allowing a culture to form where someone like Andrew could thrive unchecked. Where someone like Michael could be promoted with a file full of sealed complaints. You were hired to lead sales, but you ended up leading a quiet revolution. She smiled softly. Well, I'm good at multitasking. Benjamin chuckled. You're more than that. He paused, then reached into his briefcase and pulled out an embossed folder. I'm not just stepping back from the business, I'm retiring permanently. And I've recommended to the board that you step in, not just as head of sales, but as chief operating officer. Monica's eyes widened. Cool. You've proven you're not only sharp and strategic, you're unshakable. That's the kind of leadership Ridgeview needs now. And frankly, should have had all along. She was quiet for a long moment. Then she accepted the folder. Thank you, she said, voice steady. I won't take this lightly. I know, Benjamin replied. That's why it's yours. Meanwhile, on the other side of town, Michael Bailey sat alone in his condo, refreshing his email over and over. The silence from recruiters was deafening. He had been confident once. Smug. Powerful. Now, every HR department in a 100-mile radius had received a quiet memo about his conduct, complete with a copy of the polygraph results and Olivia's official report. He wasn't just out of a job. He was out of options. Back at Ridgeview, Olivia Price visited the building one last time. She had completed her contract and submitted her findings to the board. As she turned to leave, she ran into Monica near the elevators. You sure you don't want to stick around? Monica asked with a smile. Olivia chuckled. Tempting. But my work is in helping others tell their stories. And yours, well, you're just getting started. They shared a long look. A shared history. A quiet strength. No matter what they say, Olivia added, you earned everything they tried to steal from you. Monica nodded. So did you. They embraced briefly. Then Olivia turned and walked out of Ridgeview with her head held high. That evening, Monica stayed late, alone in the office as the sun dipped behind the Chicago skyline. The building was quiet now, the chaos behind her, the future ahead. She took a moment to reflect, not on the sabotage, not on the lies, but on the truth that had brought her through. Resilience, integrity, sisterhood, and the unwavering belief that competence, when paired with courage, would always rise. She turned off the lights, grabbed her bag, and walked out, not as a survivor, but as a builder of something new. Because at Ridgeview Auto Group, power had shifted. And this time, it was in the right hands.